Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking an 8 or 16 bar loop and turning it into a full arrangement for a melodic house track. So let's open the door and take a look. I've got this loop that I've been working on. This is the kick and bass, and I'll slowly add things in. So, the arrangement at the top here is for an 8 bar and another 8 bar. So, how do we take this loop and turn it into a full arrangement? Well, first step is what you do is, for me, I'm working in Cubase. And what you want to do is add just an audio channel. And I've got an audio channel here. I've renamed it arrangement track. And what we do with that is, with these bars here, these blocks, which you can just draw in. And if you're using Ableton or another DAW, I'm sure you can just draw in with a pencil type of thing and create a bar. So what we're going to do is, our first one is we're going to make it a 16 bar. So that's your 16 bar length. And what I like to do to make it easier to arrange a track is I used color-coded blocks. Instead of dropping markers on each point, which you can do, which is helpful, I like to use the color arrangement, which makes it a lot easier. So what I do for intros, I make them orange, and then if we add another one, let's duplicate that, and orange is for my intros. Green, let's try that green. Green is for, green means go, that's your main parts. So we use that as the main parts. Red, change that to a reddish color. And the red ones are for breaks. So super simple. And what I want to do is, as you can see, I've got a track which I have brought into the projects as a reference. I won't play it because of copyright issues. It's an Anjuna Deep release because of Arts and Stephen Weston, one of their latest releases. Really good track. This is the extended mix. And what I like to do is just use that as a guideline for the arrangement. Now, because this is an extended mix, as you can see, the length of the track is 6 minutes 30. Just use it as a guideline. I'm not going to copy their arrangement completely, but just use it as a guideline. I think I'm going to make it slightly shorter. And usually with extended mixes, they have a simple intro, just sort of kick and bass, so that DJs can use it to mix in and out of the next track. So what we're going to do is take our arrangement blocks, and we're going to just start filling them in. This is the 16 bar block over here. I can see they have an intro which is basically 16 bars, as you can see from there. And I won't play it, but I have played it back before, and they've just got kick and bass and a little bit of synth sort of comes through. So that will be our intro. So nice and easy, 16 bar intro there. Then we go into a green one. So then it breaks from there, the track breaks into the main kick and bass, some claps and shakers and that sort of thing come in. And as you can see, also at the same time, my track is in 125 BPM, which matches, and the reference track is also 125. Important just to, makes it easier to have a reference track which is the same BPM, can be a different key, or the same key. So as you can see, the kicks here line up with my track, and from there it breaks into this sort of breaky part. That's the break, and as you can see from here to there, it's another, standard 16 bar of a break, which is pretty standard in house and techno. And then they drop into the track. As you can see, the bass comes, the waveform gets bigger over there. So that's a break going straight back into the arrangement, and that carries on from there into the next part. So what you can also do, so nice and simple, a 16 and a 16, 32 bar length there. And then from there, as you can see, they've got a nice long break, which then goes into their main section again at the end. So we're going to add our break arrangement block. Add that there. 16, another 16. Now their break is quite long. So I'm not going to follow it completely. I'm actually just going to go for, let's go for two 16s and make this one an 8 bar. That's pretty decent enough for a long enough break. 16 is 16 and then another 8. This is an 8 bar here. Then we're going to add our main arrangement block. We'll make it an extended mix, but we'll make it go, let's make it up to here and have our outro, and have the outro over there. As you can see, just like that, you have the arrangement, which is color coded and easy to follow. You can use your reference track as a guideline and just see how they bring different elements in and out of the mix. Right, so just like that, we have a clear map to where our arrangement should be. And we've taken a well-known, one of my favorite artists, a track from them, and just used it as a guideline. So from your loop, now I would recommend, once you've made your loop, well, quick note before we do the arrangements, with this loop that I was working on, once your loop sounds good enough to play on repeat, sort of on a 16 bar over and over again, and you still enjoy it and you still like it, you can come back the next day and go, this is still cool, I could make this into a track. That's when your loop is good enough to extend into the arrangement. So once you have that loop, all you do is you copy it across, and what I've done is I've just copied across on the side here of your project so that you can always come back to it, and it's just nice and neat on the side. Everything's there, and we can take from that loop the parts and just arrange it into the map of the arrangement. So for intros, pretty standard. What we do is it's usually kick and bass. So I'm going to copy across my kick and bass, and we've got a 16 bar intro. And what I'm going to do is, with this track, they've started off with the kick and bass and the claps, which is kind of standard for melodic house and that sort of thing. So we're going to take our claps, copy them across. And also what I like to do is color code my different channels. So kick and bass I like to have blue. My melodies I like to have orange or red colors. And pads and that sort of thing also orange or red. Drums and hi-hats and that sort of thing I have green. Copied that across. So now all we got is kick and bass and claps. And then from there, so my bass line does have a melodic part to it. You know, it's goes up and down in scale. But what we want to do is, for the intro, make it just not as much melody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute all these top notes, and then the bottom notes, just the G, and I'm in G sharp minor, which is what I'm working in. And all I'm going to do for the bass is I'm going to extend those, just G and then F. Right, so that's our intro. And what I also like to do is break up the intro into 8 bars. So usually every 8 or 16 bars, you want to make a change or add in an element or bring in, you know, a lead or bring in different drums. So as an intro, I'm going to filter cut the kicks, also the bass. So I've just got a filter cut on, duplicated the kick and the bass, and I've got just a filter cut on that, another Pro Q. And then the bass, I just pulled down the cutoff on my synth. So let's extend those claps into the sort of first drop. So let's reference back. So basically, we've got our first break. We've done the intro bit, and we've got our first break. So I'm going to go from there. Again, filter cut the bass. This is where we can tease in our first lead. So from this break, let's see what we got here. Even already from there, what you can do is, you know what your kick and bass is going to be. So let's copy across that into our main section. Kick and bass main part, that's the break again. Or actually, we're going to use this bass. Take this whole section, put it into the main kick and bass part, move that across. And then we've got an outro bit. This is an extended mix. You've got that 8 or 16 bars of just kick and bass for DJs to mix in and out of. And your outro is just going to be pretty much the same as the intro. Copy that across. We've also got some claps. Copy those in. And just like that already, with this method, you've got your kick and bass as the, you know, foundation laid out. We're going to continue building. Use your reference track. You can have more references to work with just to get more ideas or guidelines. We're not copying the reference. We want to bring our own individual style to each track. We've done our intro, and we've got this another little break. So from that we can just go into a break part. We've already got the claps. We'll bring in the shakers. So we've got this intro that goes. sort of tease in the melody more from the bass line, change, keep it like that so we have this. With this first break, I can tease in my first leads. I have this one over here. What I'm going to do is I've got a piano and I've got these other chords. We're going to use these chords. And let's see what the piano. Actually, I'm going to mute the first 8 bar of the piano, so we just have those chords. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our shakers. Let's duplicate that. We're going to rename it Shakers Filtered, like that. I'm going to use Meta Filter, just using it as a filter cut. Cuts on the highs. And that, further on in the arrangement, we can obviously do the automation. So playing back on that break on the track, they've got basically just like a filter cuts on their claps and shakers. So we're going to keep the vibe going here. Claps. I think I'm just going to put a sort of high filter cut like this. So let's see what it sounds like. And we can come back to that and do some automation. But that's our little break part. You could make that break 8 bars. Perfectly fine if you wanted the track a little bit shorter. You know, you could come back to it and go, I'd rather just take out this and make it 8 bar, make it a little bit shorter, depending on what your track sounds like. You can always feel and just get a feel for it. So from there, we've got our almost little break, and we're teasing in the lead. Now I could copy in the piano, but it might just be a little bit too repetitive, I guess. Well, let's see. Right, so a quick listen back on the reference. What I'm going to do is bring in our open hats, and we're going to bring them in, let's see, on the 8 bar. as you can see, we're bringing new elements in every 8 or 16 bars, and we'll get to the automation and sweeps and rises and that sort of thing in a minute. But let's just move on and just keep arranging. So you got your main break here, and what I can do is, it's nice to do a filter out of the bass line. So we're just gonna copy that across. And let's copy also our kick and bass filter. And moving on. So your main break, usually this is where they introduce your main lead or another lead, you know, that sort of thing, vocals, depending on what style you're going for. This is Melodic House. So what I'm going to do is introduce our lead. And we're going to put it about here. Let's see. Let's continue with these chords. I could even put that lower. It is an extended mix, so it is going to be quite a long break for your main section. So let's see if we can tease it in over here. Some sort of a filter cut like. So we bring in the keys. Right, so let's just keep building. It's our main break there. Shakers, claps come in to that. Extend it again. We can bring in a little filter cut, kick and bass. Copy this section across too. I also have pads. Let's see, with the pads we can usually bring them in on the breaks. So nice and easy, you know where your breaks are in the red. Just pull that into there. Another one comes in here. I'm actually going to extend this pad. With this pad, it's kind of like I've got the filter cut automated MIDI mapped to my MIDI controller, and I can use it as a sort of riser. let's keep moving on. Hi-hats, I reckon, for our open hats, to build on that energy. I've also got some congas, some background stuff, events to part in Cubase, easier to work with. So that's 16 bar. Copy those across. Right, so as you can see, within a few minutes, you've got already the arrangements roughly mapped out, just using the color-coded blocks system and referencing back to your reference track, just as a guideline. But now we're gonna make it more interesting. We're going to add risers. To do this, quite a simple method. Instead of using just a white noise sample, which I actually used to do, you take a sound, just a piece of the sound from could be your main lead. So I'm going to select just a piece from here, highlight that. So I've just got 2 bars. Let's just see what we push the filter up a bit more. I'm just going to go with 1 bar. Is just export a small part of your main lead. Right, so we've exported our small piece of audio, and as you can see, it's at the bottom here. We're going to use this to make a build-up riser. I'm going to use just this little part here, and what you do is you chop it down to a 16th, copy it across, little fade on there, copy that. The first riser is going to be an 8 bar. We're going to just bounce this audio section. So that's 8 bar length. You add a reverb. And let's see what we can go. Presets. Just a sort of standard plate. Let's go plate ambience. And now, play around with the mix and the decay of this, and you can create really cool risers which really fits into your track, because you've taken a section of the lead from your track, rather than having just a random white noise thing or a sample pack taking a riser from there. You're creating a riser from an element in your track, which really helps. So we get something like this, and I guess you could start it off, fade it in, and let's see if we just let's see what we can come up with. And then you draw in some automation, automate some more stuff. So let's just that high cut, let's bring that down in the beginning and ramp it up towards the end. Write in some automation. Just add a bit of EQ to the riser. We got some more of those lows. It's a bit too much low there, but not all of it. Already it's a pretty cool riser. Pull that down so it fades out. And then we can copy across these risers. Well, let's make a 16 bar one. So now we got a longer riser. If we can change, I've got these chords for the piano. Let's extend these. Do another one here. Extend these notes. Let's see if we can ease into that. Extend this one here again. So now we have a little bit of a variation chord progression. So with this track, I've also got another lead element, which I'm using the TD3. Right, so I've recorded that in. Low shelf, just for the low end. Let's see what we've got. So from there, in a few minutes, you already have a fully arranged track. And now it's not going to be perfect, but it is a good starting point. And you can obviously go back on things, add some different tweaks, some filters, some sweeps, bring in different elements in and out. Let's keep going. Small little changes like that just help for the intro. We are going to need a lot more sweeps and rise effects and that sort of thing. Add a lot more automation. So just like that, you've taken your 16 bar loop and turned it into, we have got a 6-minute 30 track. This is not a complete track, a lot more automation that can go on. So hopefully that has helped you with your arrangement, and you can use the color-coded blocks as a guideline or a roadmap to arrange your tracks in a few minutes, and it helps you get out of the loop jail of a repeating loop. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.